Right.
So what's that like being, forget about politics for a second, being a father of two twins?
It's been great. I'm one of 7, so I tease my wife. I say twins are our good start in a family, right? So, but she has one sister, so we have completely different family backgrounds. But it's been a real joy. I mean, it's a boy and a girl, Jack and Katie, and they're about to turn 1 year old. And, they're at a great age. I suppose every age is a great age, but now they're, Katie's on the verge of walking. Jack's a little slower to get to that point, but they're at the point now where they're so much fun to be around. Later on today, we're going to go to the little gym. It's a little place in our neighborhood where you go and hang out, where they can crawl around on all kinds of mats. And they're just such at a joyful age. Everything is new for them, and we're having a fantastic time with them. Yeah,
that's great. Does the politics, does the sort of the challenge, the personal challenge of politics interfere with that on occasion, either with your family life in general? Is it hard to balance those two things, a life in government and a life with family?
I'd say we're not too much. I'd say where it becomes a challenge is one of your questions earlier was campaigns and going for other offices, whether say be county executive or attorney general, that campaigns are so time consuming. They're just brutal. It's all day, every day. If you want to be successful, that's the way you got to do it. And that has a huge impact on a family. There's just no getting around that. And so, yes, I think it can be a challenge, but people do this every day. And whatever jobs they have, whatever their jobs are, they're making the same balance, balancing how long their commute is and the cost of their mortgage and the job and where their job should be and when they can get home to be with the kids. It's not unusual whether, frankly, it's politics or anything else. One difference of politics, it's a bit more in the public eye, obviously, and but for a county council member, that's not so much the case, And so far, it's not been. I don't view it as a struggle really at all. My previous work was as a lawyer at a large law firm, and frankly, the demands on my time there were tremendous as well. Obviously, being an associate in a large law firm, so I think it's frankly a challenge that everybody faces virtually in whatever work they're doing. Balancing family and work is never easy.
So we have, we're sitting now with King County Councilmember Bob Ferguson. We have a segment in our show where we knock off inside the actor's studio. And I'll give you a series of questions that give us a chance to get some insight into you personally.
All right.
So we'll start with what is the one book, movie, or play that all viewers should see or read?
So I guess maybe I'll pick 2 if that's okay. I'm not sure that's allowed under your rules here, but
go ahead.
All right, but I'll try
bend them.
So I guess for one book I've always loved. I do love reading a lot, and one book I have always liked is by Somerset Maugham, The Razor's Edge, and Larry Darrell is the main character, and he's a guy. They made a movie out of it that I think might have won Best Picture back in the 50s, and then there was a remake I think in the 80s. But the 50s is the original, is a great version of it, The Razor's Edge. And Larry Darrell's a guy who fights in World War I, has experiences that really impact him, seeing all the human suffering that went into that. And essentially the book is his sort of search for self-awareness, for truth, for enlightenment, for however you want to define that, his search for himself. And I've always really loved that book. And Somerset Maugham, of course, was a tremendous writer. So that book has always been a favorite. In terms of movies, to tell you the truth, my favorite movie is Rocky. Love Rocky, love the story, and I can't say I've loved all of Sylvester Stallone's movies after Rocky, but Rocky I think is a classic. The underdog, his relationship with his girlfriend and future wife, his training. The underdog story, of course, is one I think that anybody can relate to, and I always frankly find it inspirational. And the theme song to the movie Rocky, I always I love, and I have the soundtrack and listen to it often.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack, yes.
What is your most treasured magazine or newspaper subscription?
Subscription. I don't know how much I subscribe to most treasured. Oh, I guess I have an easy answer for that, actually, and that's going to be Chess Life in Review. In a previous life, I actually spent some time as a professional chess player. It's a long story, DJ, but I spent...
give us a short... I'm not letting you off.
Oh, you're not going to let me off that easy?
Short answer.
After I learned how to play chess when I was a kid, when I was 9 years old, and... basketball, chess, soccer were equal parts of my life, but I seemed to do very well at chess. No one in my family played. I just kind of asked for a chess set as a kid, played, started to do very well, and nationally became ranked.
Became ranked as a national chess player.
Well, when I was 12, I realized I had some talent. Was when I was 12, I went to a national tournament for kids under 13 and finished second in the country for kids under 13.
Wow.
So at that point, I realized this was something I was good at. And so I started to focus on it a bit more. And so when I graduated from high school, I decided before I went to college, I would take a year off and just devote myself to chess. So I went to Europe and played overseas. So the way I describe it, people say, well, how good were you, Bob? The way I describe it is, if you're ever watching a Wimbledon tennis tournament, and in the first round, it's the top-ranked guys playing somebody you've never heard of, and the top-ranked guy wins in straight sets. I'm the guy losing in straight sets in the first round. I was on the tour,
Right.
I was playing there, but I wasn't at the top level. But of course, I was only 18 years old. It was a great experience traveling through Europe. Went to West Berlin when it was still West Berlin. Drove through East Germany, made my way around Europe, playing in chess tournaments, and had a great time. And then ultimately went back to college, but it was not an easy decision, frankly. If I could live my life all over again, I would have been a professional chess player.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be an easy decision. Yeah,
Huh.
It was a great life. I really loved it.
Wow, that's a tough
I threw you
question
out there.
to
That's
answer
good.
to follow. Good.
So
good.
Chess Life in Review, it's a national magazine for chess players
Yeah.
in the United States, so that's probably the one.
So if there were one person in history, alive or dead, that you could have dinner with, who would it be and why?
I think that's always a tough one. You sort of hear that kind of question a lot, and frankly, I think it sometimes depends on where I am in my life. So back when I was playing chess, right, Bobby Fischer perhaps, or a famous chess player from back in the day I would have chosen. I think now I'm in politics, so I think more about politics, and I think I would probably choose Bobby Kennedy. Is somebody I always really admired. He had a large family. I can connect with that a little bit. He was a relatively young guy in politics, had a legal background as well. Fascinated by his life. And in fact, I have to tell you that my kid's favorite book right now, I'm not exaggerating, is a large picture book, like a coffee table book, of Bobby Kennedy. And they love this book and the pictures of Bobby Kennedy. They won't let me put it down. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, yeah.
That's great. Favorite place to pray, reflect, or meditate?
Interesting. That would be a tough one. Favorite place, there would be a few. I do a lot of mountain climbing and backpacking. So I guess if I had to pick one spot, I do find the Washington coast to be a particularly wonderful spot for that. I once did a hike along the Washington coastline, about 50 miles. Very difficult hike, by the way. It took me about a week, and not easy. And I guess if I had to pick one, it's not a specific spot along the coast, but in general, the Washington coast and the Oregon coast. My wife and I took a trip down there recently. The water, the views, being outdoors. I think all those probably come together. Where I would just say generically the Washington coast, and more specifically, there's a place called Shai Beach on the north part of the Washington coast, further north from there actually, and the very northern part of our Washington coast. There's about a 3-mile stretch of beach there that's absolutely beautiful. Still not widely discovered. You can go and camp down there, hike down there and camp. I've been there before a few times, and that's a specific spot on the Washington coast that I think is perhaps the most beautiful place in Washington State, which is a state I love very much.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
King County Councilman Bob Ferguson, last question. When they write the history of the 21st century and your place in it,
They won't be writing about me, but okay.
what would you like them to say about you?
A good husband and father would be first, and they try to make a contribution back to the community that gave so much to him.
Great. King County Councilman Bob Ferguson, thanks for making
Thanks a
time.
lot, DJ. Appreciate it.